Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. Bad news coming today about Joe Gomez's injury, unfortunately. But during this break with no games, we wanted to do something a little bit special for you all. So we wanted to bring on a very special guest. You guys know him as Chris Williams. He is a football journalist for the Bundesliga and big LFC supporter. So, Chris, thanks so much for joining us today and taking some time out. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much for inviting me on. Well, I'll say I'm good. I'm perfectly healthy, but I was a little bit disappointed when I was driving before to hear that Joe Gomez has been injured. It just adds another level of defensive problems. But apart from that, I'm fine. Hope you guys are all safe over there as well, by the way.
I'm safe and healthy. Yeah, Andrew and I on Boston, safe and healthy. We're homie. How you doing, bud?
Safe and healthy in London. So all good.
Oh. Well, awesome. Well, Chris, let's get right into it. I think we should honestly just start with the Joe Gomez injury. Constant injuries. This happens now. I think the one thing that we all hate is how we're doing international fixtures that are, pretty useless in this COVID time. So, let's start there. What's the outlook going to look like right now for Liverpool going forward and in the injuries at the center back spot?
Yeah, this couldn't come at a worse time, really, could it? Obviously, Virgil van Dijk's out injured, and obviously Liverpool's best centre back. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. And it was who's going to fill in that place. And Matip, who I've got a lot of time for, I think he's a great defender. Saw him at Schalke, obviously, as part of my job, but he's been great at Liverpool. But unfortunately, his injury record's not been the best. Now, Joe Gomez. I really think he could have done without playing for England. It's a friendly against the Republic of Ireland. We don't know that much detail as yet, but it certainly looks like he's been injured in a high-intensity training game. Do we need high-intensity training games for a friendly? Probably not. The players are getting that as their day-to-day work at their various clubs. So, yeah, it's going to be a real problem for Liverpool. Obviously, Fabinho's been out. He can play there as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold's got a calf issue. So, yeah, it's not looking good at the back for Liverpool at the minute. But, there's one thing that Liverpool fans can take heart from. It's that just go back a few seasons and Liverpool would win a game 3-2 or 4-3 or 6-5 or 7-6. So we might just have to go back to doing that. Pretty much defense is overrated anyway. People want to see goals.
Very true. Very true. But, you kind of hinted at it. The entire season, it feels like every week we have a new guy getting injured. Ox, we haven't seen Ox at all this year. Mane had a little bit of a spell. We still haven't really seen much of Thiago, Van Dijk, even Henderson missed some time. Are these injuries and just the amount that we're getting this year, are they starting to become a worry for you?
It is a worry. If it was a normal season, I'd be very worried, but you've got to take into account of this congestion. There's games every 48 hours, it seems. Covering football at the minute, there's a game every single day. So I can only imagine for players, it's horrendous. They're playing a high-intensity 90-minute game. Then they're straight back into training for a couple of days, and they're playing the next high-intensive game. And then even in a break, they're playing intense international fixtures, and then they're straight back into that league and Champions League fixtures. So it's just relentless for them. We're not the only side that's going to get these issues. Unfortunately, it's going to be a season of who gets the least injuries to the key players. I think will win the league. I can certainly see this season being like no other. It'll be something like when Leicester won it. It'll be a really low point score. I can't see any one side running away with it. People are picking up injuries every week. Every team's getting it as well, and not just in the Premier League, but in leagues all across Europe. And it's just a factor of this very strange condensed season. So as long as Liverpool can keep picking up points, everybody thought they'd be stuffed without Virgil van Dijk, and they haven't lost a game. So it's going to be more difficult now without Joe Gomez, and obviously Trent will be 2 weeks by the time the international break's finished. Liverpool's next game, as we record this, is against Leicester. So it's a top of the table clash. The games are coming thick and fast. As I say, I would normally be worried, but it's just going to be part of this season. Joe Gomez won't be the last player to get injured, I'm sure. He's not the first, and he certainly won't be the last.
Chris, have you heard of the extent of Joe Gomez's injury at all?
Not as we record this, nothing nothing confirmed. There's various reports saying it's his knee again. That would be a massive blow for him. Knees are a real issue for footballers, especially if you have problems in that way before. There's so many problems can go on: ACL, MCL. You can damage the patella itself. You can damage the tendons that are attached to the muscles. It's such a key part for any athlete, your knee. Just hope that it's not as bad as feared. But when you see immediately reports coming out from people who are more well connected in Liverpool camp than I certainly am, you see that it's a serious injury, and then other news outlets are saying potential season-ending injury.
Come on.
It's very worrying. You just have to wait. We're just going to have to wait and see what Gareth Southgate says, but I doubt he'll say very much at his press conference, which should be any time now, really. He'll have to have a scan, and he'll have to go back to Liverpool, and unfortunately, it'll be his club, Liverpool, that'll have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a downer, but I mean, all things considered, Chris, when you look at how we've done this season, I mean, I feel like as a Liverpool fan, you almost got to take where we are in the table with all the injuries. But, what has been your thoughts on, how the team has performed so far this year? And, was there one game that sticks out to you as kind of the performance of the season? And if you can kind of replicate that going forward, it'll be good.
Well, there's one game that sticks out of my mind for all the wrong reasons this season.
Yeah.
I think we can see that was a bit of an anomaly. And if you look across Europe as well, that's happening to teams. So when wheels come off, they come off spectacularly. I mean, that's 7-2 against Aston Villa. If you look at Gladbach in the Champions League, beat Shakhtar 6-0. Liverpool beat Atalanta 5-0, which I think is Liverpool's best performance of the season so far, just the way that the game was played, although you could probably throw the Arsenal game into that as well. But, it'll happen. But for all the doom and gloom that we've got, Liverpool are still right at the right end of the right at the top end of the table where they want to be. Take out that Aston Villa defeat, Liverpool have had a good season. Okay, they drew at Everton, but any other season, that's a normal thing. I think if you're going to go to hostile places or big places, so Everton, Manchester United, Arsenal, Manchester City, if you can come away with a point minimum, I think you're doing quite well. And we've obviously done that on 2 occasions, especially this season, as I say. But yeah, I think the Atalanta game is the most pleasing for me, just because everybody was like, oh, we're playing against Atalanta and they're a really dangerous side. And look what they did last season in the Champions League. And Liverpool just blew them apart. And obviously Jota, getting the goals he did there, he's been standout for me. But yeah, that Atalanta game is my standout one so far this season.
So you brought up a good point. This wasn't a question I was planning on asking, but these guys kind of have laughed at me a couple of times when I've said this, in the last couple episodes, but I thought that loss to Aston Villa was actually better for us than it would have been if we only lost, 2-1 or 3-2 or a close nail biter. Because when you get blown out like that, you don't really have many excuses, and it kind of makes you, kind of look at yourself in the mirror and say, what's going on? And I think a lot of the good form that we've had since then is just the guys wanting to respond, and it was almost like a little bit of a wake-up call. I mean, obviously, you never want to get blown out, but are you kind of under that same opinion that, sometimes getting a loss like that can actually help you going forward?
I don't know if getting a loss like 7-2 can help, but I do get what you mean, and I do agree with it. So Jurgen Klopp said in the past before, you'll learn a lot more from a defeat than you do from a victory. If you beat a team 5-0, for instance, it's just, we played really well, but I think you see more insight into your team and where improvements are needed when it does go, catastrophically wrong like it did at Villa. And since then, Liverpool have played a lot better. I liken that game to the one where Liverpool were destroyed by Spurs at Wembley a few seasons ago, and they went on a run and they didn't lose again for, a very long time. I don't know if that'll happen this season, but yeah, I think it brought a lot of problems to the fore. Maybe that the Liverpool team knew, like Klopp and Linde's already knew these issues, but I think it highlights them on such a public scale that you have to work on it. And yeah, I do in a way think it probably was good for the players themselves, because, Liverpool cantered to the league title last season. They came back after lockdown, didn't play particularly well, but had won the league, celebrated very hard, and then fell apart after that. But I think maybe it was actually we need to switch back on and start playing quality football again. And that has happened since then. So maybe we'll look back in May when we're champions again and be like, "Oh, that was a laugh, wasn't it?"
Yeah. See, I'm going to put that as a check mark that he agrees with me on that. So that's a win for me. So, the last question that I have before I kind of let Andrew take over here is kind of about the summer transfer window that we had. Obviously, it was much talked about among LFC fans pretty much the entire summer. It was a lot of complaining about not getting the job done, not doing this, not doing that. When you actually look at who we brought in, bringing in Tsimikas, Jota, and Thiago, what's been your opinion on the progress of these guys? I know Tsimikas and Thiago have been out injured, so maybe with them, what can we expect out of them? When they are healthy and part of the team.
Well, I think with Tsimikas, you saw. I thought he had a good game pre-season. I'm pretty sure he played in a game against Red Bull Salzburg. That might have been in Switzerland. I don't think it was in Austria, or it wasn't at Salzburg. In fact, it was in Austria. It just wasn't at Salzburg's home ground. I thought he played quite well in that game. Thiago, I think we got a quick insight into his ability against Chelsea and then against Everton before he was injured. And Jota has been a revelation. Obviously, you said it earlier. My primary work is covering Bundesliga sides, and I knew all about Timo Werner. Thought he would fit Liverpool like a glove. So, as a Liverpool fan, I was disappointed when the club decided not to move for him. But you look at now, and obviously they've assessed who's who and what other players are like that. And Jota's come in, and we've paid a lot of money for him, or we will pay a lot of money for him. Paid an absolute pittance up front for him. And he's come in and he's molded with the team exceptionally well. And he's hit the ground running. He scored some great goals against Arsenal, obviously, also against Atalanta. And he just seems to be the right place at the right time. And yeah, I think he's going to be a really good option. But I think for the other two, we're just going to have to wait and see more of them. Obviously, I know a lot about Thiago. I know how good he is. Even if he hadn't played one game for Liverpool, I do know how good he is and what he can offer the side. So I think if we didn't have any defensive issues, I think we could say it's a pretty good window that we had. But now we are having these defensive issues. I think maybe we could have signed another centre-back, especially after Lovren left. But, Klopp said it before, you can't have world-class players sitting on a bench playing one in every 3 games. They're not going to have it. So you have to have a bit of flexibility. And we've got that. Fabinho can play centre-back. It's just unfortunate that he's been injured or he's been unable to play as well. So I think on the whole, it's been a pretty good summer, especially the actual money that was spent, something daft like £11 million for those players that have come in. It's like unbelievable if you look at the installments that they're being paid in. Yes, tremendous.
Cool. Yeah, I mean that's. I know Andrew had a few questions, especially about the center backs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of keeping it with the transfers. I was actually one of the fans or one of the supporters who, once Lovren left, I didn't think it was a necessity to go ahead and buy another center back. And I think I was proven correct for the most part, as we've had a pretty successful season, I think, so far. But now with all the injuries that are mounting, and with especially Joe Gomez, what it sounds like from what you're saying, what from others are saying, it's a pretty serious injury. Clearly center back is a priority in January, I would say. My one question would be, well, I guess 2 questions in one. Would you sign a free agent in the meantime, or would you wait until January and then look to somebody like Alaba, Upamecano, Kabak, those sorts of guys, or anybody I didn't mention instead?
Yes, it's a great question. I would normally say no, don't bother with a free agent, because there should be enough quality in your own squad or your own academy to see you through. But with Gomez going out, if he's going to be out for a long time, then that's something maybe Liverpool could do. Obviously, Nat Phillips has come in and done a good role, but you're asking a player to come in and play that performance every single game. Now, if he can do that, great. We do have some other players, but I think Liverpool might have to go out and get a centre-back in a January window, purely because, if Joe Gomez is bad news, that is both primary centre-backs out the window for the rest of the season. And you would do that. I mean, the names you mentioned there, Kabak, I know from people at Schalke that Liverpool made an inquiry into that over the winter. Schalke not keen on selling at all because he's got a release clause in the summer. So they weren't keen on selling him. Jochen Schneider, the sports director, has said he won't be sold. Now, AC Milan are really interested in him. Whether they might make an offer in the winter or whether we may, waits to be seen. David Alaba is a free agent come next summer. Hansi Flick has said today privately, and it's been reported that he's not for sale in the winter, sees him as a crucial element of his squad. Obviously, Bayern have just lost Joshua Kimmich to a serious injury. Alphonso Davies is out. Pavard out as well. So I think almost like if Liverpool had a free agent who's a defender now, there's no way Klopp would sell them. It'd be like no chance. Not when we're losing players and other teams are losing players we need to keep hold of. Now, if Bayern have to take a 25 million euro hit in the summer, but they manage to win the Champions League or the Bundesliga again, that's well worth it for them. So I can't see David Alaba leaving. And Leipzig, the same with Upamecano, they'd have to be offered some serious cash. And whether he'd want to leave, because Leipzig are doing really well in both the Champions League. I know they got battered by Manchester United, but take that game out, they are doing very well in the Champions League, beat PSG. And they've got a shot at winning the Bundesliga. So would he want to move on? It all depends. Yeah, I mean, there's the three names that I've sort of shot down for you.
Who would you be looking at?
I mean, me personally, I'd be looking at Upamecano. I think he's a fantastic player. Not only is he strong, but he's very intelligent, reads the game well, can drive forward with the ball. I think that's what you want in your defender. You want someone who's got defensive abilities, but someone who's intelligent and can read the game quickly and can take the attack forward. I think he'd fit every single box, or he'd tick every single box that Liverpool could want. Kabak is a great player, but he's still very raw, prone to a lot of mistakes. Now, I think Liverpool could deal with that if they didn't have their main two centre-backs out, but you can ask a young lad to come in who's had some problems, needs a little bit of development, and you're going to ask him to play in the Premier League champions side and to, replace Gomez and or Van Dijk at once. I think that would be a big step for him. Alaba, I'd love. I think he'd be great. If Thiago could make the call and get him to come over, that'd be brilliant. But, I don't think Bayern would want to lose it. And then you're looking at all the defenders around Europe then. I think every team that's fighting for a trophy won't want to be selling any key players in the winter window. It's a notoriously bad time to buy a player anyway. And this season, with it being so congested, teams are frightened of losing players for long, significant periods. And that's obviously going to affect your ability to sell or affect your desire to sell. And I think it's going to take stupid money for players to leave clubs in the January window. And obviously, we're still playing behind closed doors in most leagues. So money's a bit of an issue at the minute for everybody, not just Liverpool, but for every single club in the world. It's an issue.
So are there any possible free agents that you would think about signing if you were Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool?
Yeah, so free agents is always a bit of a rough one. I've had a quick look today, and I've got some friends over at Transfermarkt, and they said that their free agent pages have been absolutely battered today with traffic. There's everybody.
I wonder why.
Me personally, I would say no to a free agent. I'd try and trust some of the academy graduates going forward, and some of the players that we've already got, the likes of Nat Phillips, and Neco Williams, etc. These academy graduates that are coming through, give them the opportunity before you go into a free agent. Because at the end of the day, I know it sounds really bad, free agents are free agents for a reason. Don't want to highlight Adrian, but pretty much was not wanted by West Ham, and there was a good reason for that. And I think Liverpool have seen a couple of instances of that. Well, he's a great guy and he's a great goalkeeper, or he's a great person. When it comes to actually doing your job, he's not the best, which is why he wasn't wanted. So for free agents, for me, they're almost a bit of a risk. At least with your own academy graduates, you know where you stand all the time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I just think, I guess in that sense, I'm just worried about Champions League because Nat Phillips obviously can't play. He wasn't included in the roster. So then you're left with, I think, just Reece Williams, Matip, and Fabinho when he comes back. So I think even that's kind of rolling the dice. So, I mean, we'll see what Liverpool do. But, I mean, if there are any...
Maybe Klopp will go to back three.
Yeah, maybe we could switch things up. You never know. Or maybe put Jordan Henderson back there or Gini Wijnaldum. But
I'm available.
what's that?
I said I'm available. I'm a free agent.
Yeah, any one of us could come in.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it now.
But obviously, if any business does happen in January, it seems to be the Liverpool mantra that if anybody's coming in, somebody's likely going to be going out. If somebody does end up going out, I mean, who do you think it could be? Or maybe we just hold on to everybody. I'm curious of your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, it is another good question. I would have thought already that Divock Origi would have gone, and he's pretty much done everything I think he can at Liverpool. He won his goal, enabled Liverpool to win the Champions League at the end of the day against Barcelona. His goals against Barcelona, especially, but he came off the bench and put everybody's nerves at ease. He's Premier League winner. Jota's come in. He's slipped down. He's not even in the matchday squad occasionally now. I think he's definitely a player that will be on his way. And it's sad because he is, he will go down as a Liverpool legend. I know that word gets used a lot. But for that game against Barcelona alone, and then add in his Champions League goal, he's a fundamental part of Liverpool's history.
Not for me.
Yeah, will be going forwards. But unfortunately, I think, his time is over at Liverpool. I would have said Shaqiri would be out the door, but and it looked like he was going to be out the door in the summer or in the autumn as it was in the end. But a mixture of his COVID positive test, which turned out not to be in the end, and the fact that Liverpool might just need him, kept him. And then I wouldn't expect really anybody else to be going. Certainly no one that's come in. I've seen loads of reports that will Liverpool look at offloading Naby Keita or Taki Minamino. I can't see these players being offloaded. Minamino was brought in because Klopp loved him and all the other players loved him. Now, it might have taken him a bit of time to settle in, but he will settle in. When players are signed on 5-year contracts, if it takes them 6 to 8 months to settle in, that's not really a problem.
He hasn't played much either.
Yeah, he's not. And he's, I feel really sorry for him because when you see that board come up on 88 minutes, you know exactly who it's going to be. And, he's playing 2-3 minutes a game. I thought he looked really good against Lincoln, for example, in the Carabao Cup. I know Lincoln City, but he needs to have a run of games, but he's not going to get a run of games because he's going to have to oust, some of the biggest stars in world football. And a little bit like Naby Keita, who I saw at RB Leipzig and was, phenomenally good. He's had his issue with injuries, and then he was played by his home FA. The Guinea FA played him unfit. That made him even worse. I just been really unlucky. And he looked like he was, starting to come good again. And then unfortunately he's injured again. But I'm hoping that it comes right for Naby Keita at some point. So I can't see either of them two moving, really.
Yeah.
The only way I could see that is if Liverpool really, really wanted someone. Let's just say they wanted Upamecano, and Leipzig said no. The only way you're getting him is if you give us Naby Keita back in a deal. That's the only way I could see that happening.
Wow, I didn't even consider that.
Even then, if you look back when Liverpool wanted Naby Keita, Leipzig said if you want him early, we want Trent Alexander-Arnold, and they went, no chance, it's not happening. And I think maybe Liverpool will probably do that again. But Klopp really wanted Naby Keita.
Yeah.
And, having these top quality players like, Thiago, sort of similar-ish position, and Henderson and Fabinho, Liverpool want to win all these competitions. It's not, we need to win the Premier League now. For me, it was, I don't really care about the FA Cup. I don't really care about the League Cup. To be honest, I'm not really bothered about the Champions League. I just want to see Liverpool win the league. That's been done now. Now I want to see Liverpool win 4 trophies a season, every season. And you can't do that if you sell in, your best squad players. And I think Minamino and Keita fall into that. And now Shaqiri as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering what most Liverpool fans would think of that proposition if you had to get rid of Naby Keita for Upamecano. I mean, would people say yes? Would they say no? I'm just not sure. I don't really even know where I would stand.
I think people would say yes. And then other people would say no. But, there's only one man that matters, and that's Jurgen Klopp. And I think he'd say no.
Yeah, and to just piggyback on what you said about Minamino, I actually think that he could see some potential improved or increased game time, especially with our current position in the Champions League table. Hopefully we can get a win against Atalanta, and then those final 2 games, he could really see some minutes. And obviously with the loaded schedule, I think his minutes will increase anyway. So just my last question. I know you mentioned Jota pretty frequently. One of the most contentious topics right now on Liverpool football Twitter has been, should Bobby Firmino be playing? Where should he be playing? Should you start Jota? I mean, where do you stand with that? I know where I stand. I know where Steven stands. I know where Homie stands. But I mean, is it time for him to see the bench, or do you still include him in the lineup?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because a lot of people online have said, "Oh, Roberto Firmino, he's nowhere near as good as he was. He's pretty rubbish." I mean, I think that's unbelievable, because you have to look at what Roberto Firmino's asked to do. He's asked to play a very prescriptive role for Liverpool. He's been asked to play it for 3 seasons, and he's the only one who can do it. Now, that's impossible to carry on forever. So at some point, he was always going to have a slump. And Liverpool, I'd say we're lucky, but we're not, because it's good planning. They've brought in a player in Jota who can allow Firmino to have a rest. But I think because of the negative press that Firmino's getting, Klopp's very stubborn, and he'll happily just keep playing him to prove that he's right and he's a critical member of the squad. But I was really surprised to see all 4 start against Manchester City. I think Pep Guardiola was a little bit surprised to see all 4 start as well. But yeah, it gives Liverpool some good redundancy should Bobby Firmino need a rest. I personally think he looks tired. His play looks tired. His play looks laboured. He's nowhere near the player he was 12 months ago. If you think about that player now, I know we're in November. We're not far off December. Go back last season. I thought he was tremendous in the World Club Cup run that we had. Those couple of games, and also before that as well in the league. He needs a rest. I don't think he needs dropping. I think he needs a rest. There's a big difference in that too. So I certainly don't think he needs dropping or benching for a bit. I genuinely think he needs a rest, and that either allows Minamino to play in that role, or it allows Liverpool to change shape, and Jota allows Sadio Mane and Mo Salah to have either a swap or a little break as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Firmino get a break if he's allowed one, especially that last game at home against Ajax. I think we could probably get a game in that game against Ajax, give everybody else a rest.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Firmino does for the Brazil squad over this international break, whether Tite plays him or not. And also, I think, just to kind of piggyback again on what you're saying, I think that Firmino is the sort of player, he has a similar role for me, like Gini Wijnaldum. If he's not present in the squad, you really notice it. And he's just one of those unsung heroes for the team. And even in that City game, when he went off, yeah, he definitely underperformed, I think. But when he did come off, you noticed a drop in quality, you noticed a drop in pace from the Liverpool side. So, I mean, clearly Klopp sees his value. I think the rest of the Liverpool supporters need to see his value as well. But I'm actually going to pass it along. I think Wahomie has some questions to finish us off.
Yeah, so obviously, we were all excited when Thiago signed. And obviously, we're going to be able to see maybe 2 hours of him. For a lot of us who've seen him over the years, we know what a good player he is. But in your for you, Chris, when he comes back for Leicester, which they're saying that he's going to be back for that game, what are you expecting that he's going to bring the team, and what can we expect from Thiago in terms of taking this Liverpool team to the next level?
Well, you can expect 75-yard passes onto a postage stamp for a start.
Yes.
That's how good he is. And this might sound like real hyperbole here, but I think he could be one of Liverpool's most important midfielders since Steven Gerrard left. That's how good I think he is, not just as a player, but as a dressing room influence. I think him coming was key. He's a multiple champion himself with Bayern and Barca. He's won the Champions League. He comes into the dressing room as an equal with everybody else in that Liverpool squad. And his experience sets him apart as a senior member immediately. We've all seen the signing videos and the vlog he did when he arrived. He looks very relaxed. He looks very happy. There's pictures of him, social media of him and his family around Liverpool city centre already. They look very much at home. So off the pitch, I think he's settled. On the pitch, what he brings is just a different route for Liverpool. So before Thiago came, and this is why I was so desperate to see him come, it's pretty much easy. I say in inverted commas, if you want to stop Liverpool playing, stop their wing backs from attacking, stop their high wing backs from getting up the pitch. Stop that. You stop Liverpool because they didn't have someone to go through the middle. Now, Thiago does that. He can break up the play on the edge of the box, and then he can turn defense into attack, either with a run or with a pass. The Bundesliga are very good at self-promotion, and they've got some wonderful videos of what Thiago's done for Bayern and how he breaks those lines, not just with his either driving with the ball, but his passes. He bypasses midfield presses. He can stop attacks at the very critical point. He's superb. His vision is top notch. I think what we saw against Chelsea and before he went off injured against Everton is a little insight. I mean, if he could get a good run of games, he'd be one of the first names on the team sheet for me if I'm Jurgen Klopp. And that's why Liverpool have brought him in at his age for that money. He's not an FSG signing, if you want to say that. He's what everybody wanted, which is an experienced winner, a little bit older, and cost really quite a bit of money for his age, if you comparison to who the other players we've signed. So, yeah, people think of him as someone who can maybe get an assist or the assist before the assist, the hockey assist, if you like it. But his defensive qualities and turning defense into attack is just one of the best in the world. And I think it gives opposition managers a real problem when he's in, because what do? Do they stop Robertson and Trent from going forward? If you do that, you give Thiago a free role, unmarked almost in the middle, or do you stop Thiago and allow Liverpool to go high wing back? And if you do one, you do the other. And if you don't really know what to do, you end up not doing anything and Liverpool bowl you over. So hopefully that's what happens. But yeah, Thiago, sensational for me. Absolutely sensational player. The more I see of him in a Liverpool shirt, the happier I become.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I'm just so desperate for this guy to come back. And leading on to that, because when I think about the Champions League, I think when you're in the Champions League, you need someone that kind of sets the tempo, can play with a fast pace, could do penetrative passes. I think sometimes in the past, when we've gone away to teams like Atletico Madrid, we've lacked that variation. And so when I think about the Champions League, I think obviously at Liverpool, we're doing really well. We're top of our group. We smashed Atlanta away. When you think about the injuries as well, how far do you think Liverpool can go? And 2 years ago, we beat Bayern Munich. Now, a lot of people say that's a different Bayern Munich we beat. But can this Liverpool team beat the favourites, who are the bookish favourites for the Champions League, and actually win the double this year, potentially? Is that are we strong enough to do that?
No, I would say yes. Had Gomez not been injured today, I think this season is going to be very strange. So if it was a normal season with the normal breaks and crowds there, I think Liverpool could quite easily win the league and a Champions League. I don't think it'd be a problem for them. This season with the congested games, I think it's going to be a struggle for anyone to win a double, win their own league and the Champions League. On a one-off match, I think if Liverpool put their strongest 11 out, or had their strongest 11 plus, the 5-6 substitutes that are out on the bench, I think they could beat Bayern. It would be one hell of a game. It'd probably be the best game that we saw in a long time, because I think both teams have got strengths and they both got weaknesses. And funnily enough, their strengths and weaknesses are pretty much the same. So it would be a really interesting matchup. That would be my final in Istanbul, hopefully. If we could get there, that would be great. Can I see Liverpool winning the league? Yes, if no more injuries come, or if they do come, players who have been injured are back. So, I don't think we could take another defender getting injured unless one of the other defenders comes back, or one of their graduates or one of the defensive substitutes can step up. Midfield and attack, I think now we've got enough redundancy in there to cope. But on their day, could Liverpool beat Bayern? Yes, I think they could. But I also think Bayern could beat Liverpool. It would be a hell of a fixture that I'd certainly love to watch. At the stadium as well, by the way. I wouldn't want to watch it on the TV like I'm having to at the moment. I'd want to be in the ground for that one.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because when I go back to that, for example, the Champions League final against PSG, and I feel that PSG missed two good chances before Bayern scored. They had the Mbappe chance, and I think Di Maria missed a chance as well. And I think that PSG caused Bayern a lot of problems, and then it was just the one pass from Thiago that really opened up by PSG and get Bayern the goal. And I thought in that final, a rude Adrian's mistake against Atletico Madrid, because I felt like we would have been in that final if Alisson didn't win goal. And so, yeah, it's a difficult one with the Champions League this year. I think it will probably depend on who we buy in January for me. If we can get someone in January just to give us that extra stability at the back. Because as you're saying, like I was looking at even like the fixtures, our February's fixtures are crazy. If you look at it, we've got like Man United, Wolves, Leicester, all in like in a row. So, and that's around the time when it's the knockout stage of the Champions League.
We had a crazy December last season, and everybody said there's absolutely no way Liverpool win all those games. And then, we're 14 points clear come the end of January. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with like part of what you're saying there. It's going to be difficult, but I think it's going to be difficult for everybody. Not in the Premier League. I think it's going to be difficult for Bayern. I think it's going to be difficult we've already seen how difficult it is for Real Madrid and Barcelona. So we could have a surprise this season. It could be someone really strange, win a Champions League, someone like Leipzig maybe.
So who's been your standout player of the season so far? What's impressed you about them that's made you say that they are the standout so far?
Well, I think so far it's going to have to be Jota, and because of how he's come in, and because that's purely because he's brand new, because he's come in, because he's settled so well, and because he's having real impact on games. His games aren't just passing him by. He's not just, a little bit influential. He's doing things like scoring crucial goals, scoring hat tricks. So I think he's been great. Sadio Mane, it just goes from strength to strength every single season. Even when you think, maybe he's not on his best night, he just pulls something out of the bag, a pass or a run or a move or a link-up play. I think it's been good to see Henderson back, and Fabinho in the midfield, and Gini Wijnaldum as well. I thought he's been playing well recently. I thought Gomez was looking okay as well before. But yeah, I think if you're looking for one standout player, it'd have to be Jota, purely because he's a new arrival, and I certainly didn't expect him to do as well as quick. I thought he'd be a good player, but I didn't expect him to be, getting the results he is so quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think we would all agree that Jota has been outstanding. And I think, like as you're saying, Henderson and Gini have been phenomenal this season. Especially, I think I saw like someone showed the highlights of how the work they did against City. It was like the off the ball movement, the pressing was outstanding. And if only the front four had been more sharper on like actually play a bit better, we could have capitalized on that. I think Jota's probably surprised a lot of us, because I have to admit I was in the camp of saying we should have got Timo Werner, and actually was gutted we didn't get him. And I didn't really think of Jota at that time, and I was surprised when we bought him. So so he's been outstanding. I think my final question has normally been so what is your realistic expectations now for the rest of the season? What are you hoping, and who are you looking now with what we're going on in terms of injuries to really take this team forward and help us, go over the line and bring in number 20 in terms of titles, the Premier League, or get us over the Champions League? Like, what are you expecting now going forward?
I think Liverpool, unfortunately, are going to be in a position where they're going to have to choose at some point what they want, because I think the fixture list is going to cripple Liverpool. It's going to cripple other teams as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get to a point where we're going to have to decide as a club and as a fan base whether we want Liverpool to win the league or the Champions League, because I don't think it's going to be possible to win both. For me, it'll always be the league. So I want to see Liverpool win number 20, mostly because it'll annoy Manchester United fans, as well as to hit that magic 20 mark. But for the rest of the season, Uma looking towards, it's going to be the guys that have got the leadership quality. So normally you would say Van Dijk for one, but he's not going to be there. But he'll have an influence off the pitch as well. I just want to see the big players really step up and take it and help the others around them. So obviously Alisson at the back is a tremendous presence. he very rarely makes a mistake. I'd like to see that continue. Then you've got the likes of Robertson, who's still injury-free on the left. I think he has been guilty of a few errors occasionally, but he looks to have sorted those out now. And then in the midfield, obviously Henderson's the leader of the whole club, but he is a natural leader on the pitch as well. But I'd look to him to help. But having seen that video the other night that the club released from Atalanta, where he's constantly talking to everybody, I think it shows that he's already doing that. And then the front four, as they are now, not the front three. It's nice to have a front four, just to be there for each other, because there's going to be periods where Salah doesn't look particularly convincing. There's going to be periods where Firmino doesn't look convincing, and Mane is going to go through peaks and troughs, and Jota will as well, no matter how good his start has been. And they've seemed to be in the past that the squad cohesion and the squad spirit has pulled Liverpool through. So just like to see that again, and hopefully no repeat of a 7-2. And we can look back at that and laugh, but realistic expectations are I'd like to see Liverpool win the league again. I just hope that there'll be some fans in the stadium, because I'd hate for us to win the league twice, to have no fans, and then win it again for 3 to 4 years when fans are back. So and I'd also like us to win it again, because I think if we did win it in May, I think by June or July, well, me and Holmes would be all right. We just go to Liverpool anyway. You guys would have to fly over. There'd be because we didn't get a parade last season. And I think unless we win the league again, I don't think we will have another parade, because it'd be useless having one now, because that moment's gone. So I'd like us to win the league so we can all have that moment together again, because I was lucky enough to be at the last one after the league, Champions League final in Madrid. I was in Liverpool the next day for that. And I can only imagine a back-to-back Premier League parade would be 10, 20, 30 times as good. And that was a good day, by the way. So, yeah, let's hope it's that.
I think I'm going to be selfish and say I want both. I want the Champions League and I want number 7.
I'm with you.
And number 20.
Yeah, I'm happy to win the Carabao Cup. And we're
just because I know how it annoys other fans to say we won 7. Like, it annoys the Barca fans that they know that we've got more than them, and just it makes us. I think it puts into perspective like how good Klopp is if we won the double, especially when you compare it to Pep. When people go on about Pep being this amazing manager and how he's the best ever, but yet he can't win the Champions League at Man City. So I just love it for that thing to say, look, Klopp's in his 4 years, he's won the 2 Champions Leagues, 2 league titles, and just go down as the best Premiership manager. And
look, if he does,
better than Ferguson, I'd say.
But you can also say that he is a great manager, because if he does win 2 leagues, 2 Champions Leagues, he also lost 1 league by 1 point, and we were narrowly beaten by Real Madrid in a final that we probably should have won had Ramos not thrown Salah to the ground. So, Klopp's legacy at Liverpool, I think, is already complete, but a double, a European Cup and a Champions League and league double would be great. Pretty much, I could go and just watch Formula 1 or golf after that.
I love Formula 1 myself, just getting into it. So actually, I kind of going along the same subjects as the rest of the season. One of the things that we've seen a lot, and it's something that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, is switching back and forth from the 4-3-3 formation to the 4-2-3-1 formation. Especially now with the squad that we have and the squad depth that we have, and knowing that we have a guy like Thiago coming back from injury, is there one formation that you'd go with over the other to really enhance the players that we have?
Well, I think Klopp's been wanting to go to 4-2-3-1 for a long time. I remember, I think it was his second season, he was trying out 4-2-3-1 in pre-season, but he went with 4-3-3. And he's tried it again, but 4-3-3 always gave the results. And then we started getting players like Shaqiri, purpose-built for 4-2-3-1. Same with Minamino. And I think Jota allows that. Thiago obviously allows that. Fabinho as well. And Naby Keita. I did think when Fabinho came in, and then obviously Naby Keita was on his way in, that they were going to be the two holding midfielders as such, or the double pivot for the 4-2-3-1. It's Klopp's favoured formation. He loved it at Dortmund, loved it at Mainz. I think that's the way he wants to play football at Liverpool. But I think having the 2 formations, it makes Liverpool unpredictable. And there's nothing worse as an opposition coach or an opposition manager than dealing with unpredictability. You know, how are Liverpool going to set up this week? Who are we going to be facing? Who's going to be in a midfield too? Are they going to play, you know, with 2 high wing backs, or are they going to go, you know, to a 3 at the back, for instance, or are they going to look at 4 across the middle? It's not that unpredictability that these players who've come in bring. Thiago certainly brings that. And as I say, Minamino definitely offers that with Jota as well. But if I had to choose one for my own good, you know, if someone says choose Liverpool formation, it'd be 4-2-3-1, because I think Liverpool's squad has been built around that now. But you can't take out that Liverpool do play well on their day. 4-3-3 and it goes right. You know, I just think back of that game against Roma at Anfield, where that was, you know, 4-3-3, and the Manchester City game in that same year, that same season before it, and the league game where Liverpool were just blowing teams away 4-5-0. But then the back needed to be sorted out, and we've done that now. So yeah, for me, it'd be 4-2-3-1.
I think so too. I think it's going to be the 4-2-3-1 going forward, especially when Thiago comes back. I think that his link up with the front 4 will be kind of what we've been missing recently with that. But you know, the other news that did come out, you know, this week, it's not really news; it was expected. But you know, we had our last training at Melwood. You know, we're moving over to Kirby, so. You know, tell us a little bit about that, and just, you know, how Melwood, the role, you know, Melwood has played for so many players and fans, and just, you know, the identity of Liverpool FC.
Yeah, well, obviously, Liverpool have been there for a very long time now. And it's been there through every part of the club's progression. When they bought it, you know, off a local school way back when, I think it was described as the countryside. Now, you know, Liverpool has had a countryside for a very long time. So it tells you how long ago that Melwood's been there. But it's just had this almost like godly presence to it, you know, and the pictures that have come along with that. There's a great article on This Is Anfield going back through where, you know, pictures of not just the players themselves, but, you know, fans standing on things like bins and traffic cones to peer over. Its location is just, it's just in a suburb, a West Derby suburb of Liverpool. It's just slap bang in the middle of people's houses. And yeah, obviously the facilities are there and they've been there a long time. But I think Liverpool are a modern club, and at some point they did have to move. And the academy that's over at Kirby is a fantastic place. I've been lucky enough to play there myself. My son's played there. You know, I've been lucky enough to see it at its, you know, full operating capacity. And to move the first team there and to move the whole of Liverpool's operation under one umbrella, I think is the right thing to do. It's pretty much the way every other club operates these days. You know, it's been the redesigned centre at Kirby's been designed on the Salzburg, or it's been based on the one that RB Salzburg have, their training centre, which is, you know, world class. Red Bull pumped a lot of money into that. Yeah, it's going to be great to see them move on. My dad's not happy. He lives about 5 miles away from it. Sorry, he lives about 2 miles away from it. And the road layouts changed and everything in the local area. So I know some of the locals aren't particularly happy about it. But for the club, I think it's great. You just see some of the videos that have been released already of the new centre. But, you know, Melwood's got a lot of history. It's almost, you know, like a mini Anfield for the club. There's a lot of history there. A lot of things have happened. There's, you know, all the managers that have been through, the sites and the stories that the place has seen. Yeah, I suppose it's sad in that way. But it's going to be, you know, it's going to be returned to the community in some sort of way, either, you know, local housing. I know a lot of the locals wanted it to be handed over as a sports facility. It's not going to happen. I don't, you know, Liverpool's a business at the end of the day. They've got business decisions to make. But going forward, the centre at Kirby will be world class, and that's what Liverpool need, really. And it's out the way as well. They won't get as many people, you know, trying to look through or fly drones over it or whatever. So it'll be good for the club, and it'll also be good for the people of West Derby to be able to drive around their homes and their areas without having to put up, you know, with thousands of people coming around. At the end of the day, I think Liverpool had outgrown Melwood probably 5-6 years ago. And yeah, it's exciting to see what new memories can be made at Kirby now.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Bielsa to have his scouts, spy on trainings now. So that's one good thing for us. But fellas, do you have any more questions you wanted to get by, Chris, before we let him go?
I don't think so. This has been fantastic. It's been a pleasure having you on, Chris.
Oh no, thanks for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure to chat football.
Yeah, it's always nice. We'll definitely have to have you back. Hopefully, if we win the title, we can have you back and have a nice celebration together. But yeah, Chris, from all of us, man, we really appreciate it. This has been awesome getting your opinion on all things Liverpool FC. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, how can people reach you as well on Twitter or wherever?
Yeah, sure. So if you've not been put off by my opinion already, feel free to follow me. I'm on Twitter, Chris78Williams. I do a little bit of Liverpool freelance work, but most of my stuff is centered around the Bundesliga. But I'm always chatting about Liverpool because they're my side, born and bred. So you'll find my work featured on different outlets or different places, and occasionally do quite a bit of work with Sirius as well, which is satellite radio in the US. So I'm sure you guys may have been unfortunate enough to hear me on that at some point.
I've yet to subscribe, but now that I know you're on there, I might have to.
There you go. Well, Chris, thanks again, man. And for everyone else out there who's listening, we hope you got a lot out of this. It was awesome for us. Hope it was awesome for you. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week. Maybe with another special episode, or we'll be back for the pregame Leicester. But either way, thanks again, Chris, for coming on. Give him a follow at Chris78Williams, and up the Reds. We'll see you next time.
Up the Reds.
Thanks, lads. See you next time.